The Mafia boss brought his new fiancée to dinner and found his pregnant wife serving their table. Harper Lane felt the wine bottle tremble in her hand before Declan Kane even looked up. 6 months ago, she had escaped his penthouse with nothing but a coat, a few dollars, and the secret growing beneath her heart. Now she stood beneath the golden lights of Chicago's most exclusive restaurant, wearing a stained black apron, while the man she once loved discussed his wedding to another woman. Then Declan saw her stomach. In one silent moment, desire became fury, protection became possession, and the life Harper had fought to rebuild began closing around her like a locked door. Stay with this story to discover how fear, love, and power can become impossible to separate. Like the video and tell us in the comments where you are watching from. The restaurant lights still burned behind Harper when the black SUV pulled away from the curb. For several seconds, she heard nothing except the blood rushing in her ears. Chicago slipped past the tinted windows in streaks of rain and gold. Street lamps bent across wet pavement. Taxis hissed through shallow water. Somewhere behind them, Astor House returned to its polished rhythm, as if Harper Lane had not just been taken from her shift by the most feared man in the city. She sat against the far door, one hand locked over her stomach. Declan occupied the seat beside her without touching her. His presence filled the vehicle anyway. It always had. He did not need to raise his voice or move closer. The space simply rearranged itself around him. His charcoal suit was still perfect. Only the muscle in his jaw betrayed him. "You should have told me." Harper stared through the glass. "I did not know I needed your permission to exist." "That is not what I said. It is what you meant." Declan looked down at her hand. "How long have you known long enough?" "How long, Harper?" She turned toward him. "Why does it matter now you were planning a wedding?" His eyes narrowed slightly. "Camille is not the subject. She was sitting beside you with your ring on her finger, and you were standing in front of me carrying my child." The words settled heavily between them. "Our child is not a weapon," Declan said. "Not yet." The silence that followed was colder than the rain outside. Declan studied her face as if searching for the woman he remembered beneath the exhaustion. "Be careful." That voice had once made men leave rooms. It had once made Harper apologize before she understood what she had done wrong. Now she met his eyes. "That voice used to scare me, and now it reminds me why I left." The SUV crossed the river and turned north. Harper recognized the route. "No." Declan glanced toward her. "You are not taking me there. You need somewhere secure. I have an apartment. You have a third-floor walk-up with a broken rear lock and a landlord who has ignored 6 complaints." Harper went still. The driver kept his eyes on the road. "You had me followed. I had you protected. That is not better. It kept you alive." She pressed herself closer to the door. "You do not get to call surveillance protection. You disappeared in the middle of a war. I left my husband. You left Declan Kane. Those are not the same thing." His name carried weight in Chicago. It moved through courtrooms, union halls, city offices, private clubs, and neighborhoods where people knew better than to say it loudly. Harper had once mistaken that power for wealth. The first time she met him, Declan was standing beneath a chandelier at a hospital fundraiser listening to a senator speak about public service. Harper was 26, recently promoted at a small arts foundation, and wearing a borrowed dress that pinched beneath her arms. Declan did not look like the men around him. He was not smiling too widely or searching the room for someone more important. When his eyes found Harper across the ballroom, they stayed. 10 minutes later, he appeared beside her at the silent auction display. "You have been staring at that painting for 5 minutes." Harper glanced at the blue and silver canvas. "I am deciding whether it is beautiful or simply expensive." His mouth curved. "What is the verdict? Expensive." He laughed as though no one had spoken honestly to him in years. Harper told him the painting reminded her of Lake Michigan in winter. She mentioned that she loved the quiet after snow. He remembered. A week later, Chicago woke beneath 6 inches of white. Declan sent a car to her apartment and took her to an empty conservatory before opening hours. Breakfast waited beneath the palms while snow covered the glass roof. Harper should have found it excessive. Instead, she felt chosen. Declan remembered the smallest things. Her grandmother's name, the jazz record she played while cooking, The fact that she hated lilies because they smelled like funerals. When Harper told him her grandmother had raised her after her parents died, he listened without offering pity. On their third date, a man followed Harper from the train station. Declan arrived 20 minutes later, checked every lock, and placed 2 men across the street. "No one will bother you again," he said. The man disappeared from the neighborhood. Harper did not ask why. At the time, protection felt like love spoken in Declan's native language. Their courtship moved fast. Cars waited outside her office. Coffee arrived before early meetings. Declan called every night before she slept. When Harper missed one call, he appeared at her office. "I could not reach you. My phone died. You should have charged it." She laughed, believing he was worried. She did not understand that concern and control could wear the same face. Declan proposed less than a year after they met beside the lake after midnight. Snow moved over the black water. Chicago burned behind them. He held out a ring. "You are the only place I have ever felt at peace." Harper believed him. Marriage felt like living inside a dream someone else had paid to build. The penthouse overlooked the lake. Fresh flowers appeared every morning. Declan gave Harper a library because she once said the living room felt too formal. He funded her arts programs without placing his name on them. He slept with one hand at the small of her back. Then there were calls at 3 in the morning. Men who lowered their voices when she entered. A city inspector who arrived furious and left apologizing before Declan had said 10 words. Once, Harper found blood dried along the cuff of Declan's shirt. "One of the men at the warehouse had an accident," he said. "What kind of accident? Nothing you need to worry about." The answer should have frightened her. Instead, she allowed him to kiss her forehead and guide her toward dinner. She enjoyed the penthouse, the jewelry, the private trips, and the safety of his name. Looking too closely at the source of that life would have required her to decide whether she could keep it. So she chose not to look, until the night she heard him say that a man needed to be handled before sunrise. Declan had left the study door partly open. Harper stood in the hallway with a glass of water. "No police," he said into the phone. "No hospital. Take him to the printing warehouse." There was a pause. Make sure he understands what betrayal costs. 20 minutes later, Declan's car left the garage. Harper followed in a taxi. She told herself she only wanted proof that her imagination had become cruel. There would be a reasonable explanation. A private dispute. A threat made for effect. The taxi stopped near an abandoned printing warehouse on the south side. Rain had started fine and cold. Harper found a side door that did not close completely. Inside, the air smelled like rust oil and wet concrete. She followed the voices until she reached a row of silent printing machines. A man was tied to a metal chair. One eye had swollen shut. Blood ran from his mouth to his chin. Declan stood before him with his jacket removed and his sleeves rolled neatly to the elbows. He looked calm. That was the worst part. Wyatt Mercer stood nearby with a gun at his side. Harper knew Wyatt as Declan's oldest friend. He had attended their wedding. He had once spent an entire dinner making her laugh. The prisoner lifted his head. "My brother will come for you." Declan's expression did not change. "Gideon should have taught you not to sell family secrets. I had no choice. There is always a choice." The man began to cry. "My wife does not know. My children do not know anything." Declan stepped closer. "You made your family vulnerable when you sold mine." The prisoner looked past Declan as though searching the darkness for mercy. He found Harper's eyes. Then Declan nodded. Wyatt moved. The first scream tore through the warehouse. Harper stumbled backward. Her shoulder struck a shelf. A metal wrench fell and hit the floor. Every head turned. Declan stared toward the machinery. "Who is there?" Harper ran. She reached the street and kept running until her lungs burned. She did not feel the rain soaking her coat. She saw only Declan's face composed while another man begged for his life. By the time she reached the penthouse, her hands would not stop shaking. She locked herself in the bathroom and sat on the marble floor. There was no blood on her skin, but she scrubbed her hands until they turned red. Declan came home after midnight. He found her through the sound of running water. "What happened?" Harper looked at his clean black shirt and calm eyes. "Did you kill someone tonight?" The question stopped him. Not guilt, not shock, calculation. Declan closed the door. "You followed me. You knew." I heard the car behind us. I did not know it was you. That man begged for his children. He should have thought about them before he spoke to federal agents. Harper stared at him. She had expected denial or some desperate attempt to preserve the man she loved. Instead, Declan crouched in front of her. What you saw was necessary. You tortured him. I stopped a threat. You are the threat. Something hardened in his face. Be careful, Harper. There it was again, the warning disguised as concern. Declan reached for her. She flinched. His hand stopped. The hurt in his eyes was real. That made it worse. You think I would hurt you? I do not know what you would do. I would burn this city before I let anyone touch you. Harper whispered. That is not the comfort you think it is. Declan stood by the window, his reflection hovering over the sleeping city. Aaron Shaw sold information that could put both of us in prison. His brother has been trying to take my territory for years. If I did nothing, men would come through that door while you slept. So you killed him. I protected what is mine. I am not yours. Declan turned. You are my wife. The words sounded less like love than ownership. Harper waited until he showered. She took her identification, emergency cash, and one change of clothes. She removed her wedding ring and placed it beside his watch. At the bedroom door, she looked back. The city glowed beyond the windows. Everything she had once wanted surrounded her. None of it felt safe. She left barefoot because she was afraid the closet door would make noise. For the first week, Harper slept in a motel near the airport. She paid cash and kept the curtains closed. Every black car in the parking lot made her heart pound. Then she rented a small apartment in Rogers Park under her maiden name. The building smelled like old cooking oil and damp plaster. The radiator knocked all night. The rear lock opened if someone pulled hard enough. Harper loved it because Declan had never chosen it. She applied for office jobs, museum jobs, and receptionist positions. Employers asked why she had not worked for 2 years. She could not write Mafia wife on an application. Astor House was the only place willing to hire her. She learned how to smile while customers ignored her balance hot plates along her arm and count tips in a restroom stall while calculating rent. One afternoon, her bank card was declined at a grocery store. Harper left the basket on the floor and cried in the restroom. She had never understood how expensive it was to be poor. Tessa Reed became her friend because she never asked questions Harper was not ready to answer. She shared leftovers after closing and covered tables when Harper became sick. You do not have to tell me who you are running from, Tessa once said. Just tell me if he walks through that door. If he walks through that door, there is nothing you can do. Then I can at least throw soup on him. The thought made Harper laugh for the first time in weeks. She discovered the pregnancy after collapsing during a double shift. Tessa drove her to St. Catherine's, where Dr. Evan Brooks found her beneath a fluorescent light with her arms wrapped around her body. He explained every test before ordering it. When Harper panicked during the blood draw, he lowered himself onto a stool. No one is going to touch you without telling you first, he said. The sentence almost broke her. Hours later, Evan entered with a chart. The tests show that you are pregnant. Harper stared at him. No. The result was repeated. She looked down at her stomach as if it belonged to someone else. How far? We need an ultrasound for an accurate estimate, but likely several weeks. Declan's child. The realization came before anything else. Not joy, not fear, his face. Evan asked if there was someone he should call. No. A husband, no one. He did not push. He found a social worker, a low-cost clinic, and a ride home. Over the next months, he checked on Harper. He brought crackers when morning sickness made food impossible and found prenatal vitamins she could afford. One evening, he sat beside her outside the hospital while buses groaned along the curb. You do not have to be alone just because you left someone, he said. Harper did not tell him that loneliness felt safer than being loved by Declan Kane. Evan never sent a car without permission. He never demanded her location. He never treated kindness like a debt. That difference frightened her almost as much as Declan's intensity had once thrilled her. The SUV slowed beneath the tower where Harper had lived as Mrs. Kane. Present and memory collided so violently that she pressed one hand against the window. You said someone was watching me. Declan's gaze settled on her. My men identified him 2 weeks ago. Who is he, a scout working for Gideon Shaw? The warehouse returned in one sharp image. Aaron tied to the chair, blood on his mouth. His warning that his brother would come. Harper covered the baby. "Gideon knows you are pregnant," Declan said. "How we do not know yet." "So you brought Camille to the restaurant while men were watching me?" "I brought Camille because Gideon expected me to be occupied with an engagement dinner. He did not know I had located you. You found me before tonight." "Yes." "How long? 3 days?" Harper laughed once without humor. "And you waited. I needed to know who else was watching." The driver opened Declan's door. Declan stepped out and held his hand toward Harper. She ignored it and climbed from the SUV alone. Rain struck her face. The tower rose above them, all glass and pale stone, beautiful enough to make captivity look like privilege. Inside, the concierge stood immediately. "Good evening, Mr. Kane. Mrs. Kane." Harper stopped. Declan placed one hand near her back without touching her. "Keep walking." The private elevator waited with its doors open. Harper entered because 4 armed men stood behind them, and because the child inside her had begun to move. Declan pressed his thumb to the security panel. As the elevator rose, Harper watched their reflections in the mirrored wall. He looked exactly as he had 6 months earlier. She did not. The doors opened into the penthouse. Warm light spilled across imported stone. The air smelled faintly of cedar and the lavender oil Harper used to place near the windows. Her photographs still stood on the console table. Her coat remained in the closet. A pair of her shoes sat beneath the bench as if she had removed them only minutes earlier. Declan had preserved the home exactly as she left it. Then Harper saw the folder waiting on the dining table. Her maiden name was printed across the cover in black capital letters. Harper Lane Surveillance Report. She looked at Declan. He removed his coat and closed the elevator behind them. The lock engaged with a quiet, mechanical click. Harper stared at the folder on the dining table. Her name looked unfamiliar, printed in black capital letters. Harper Lane. The identity she had fought to reclaim had been reduced to a case file inside the home she had escaped. She crossed the room and opened it. Photographs slid across the polished wood. Harper leaving Astor House after midnight. Harper carrying groceries into her apartment. Harper sitting alone at a bus stop with one hand pressed against her lower back. Harper entering St. Catherine's Hospital beside Evan Brooks. Every image had a date, time, and location printed beneath it. She looked at Declan. "How long?" He removed his cufflinks and placed them beside the folder. "I told you, I located you 3 days ago. These photographs go back months. Not all of them are mine." Harper picked up the picture of herself outside the hospital. The angle came from across the street, close enough to capture the exhaustion around her eyes. "You watched me struggle." Declan's expression did not change, but something moved behind his eyes. "I did not know where you were. Someone did." "Yes." She flipped through the images faster. Her apartment, her workplace, her clinic. The corner market where she bought discounted produce before closing. A life she had believed was private had been observed from every direction. Who took the others? We are still determining that. Gideon Shaw, most likely. Harper pressed one hand against the table. "You said you came to the restaurant to keep me alive. That does not explain why I am locked in here." Declan walked to the bar and poured water instead of whiskey. "You are exhausted." "I'm not discussing my sleep. You have been on your feet for 9 hours. You do not get to care about my feet after putting armed men at the elevator. They were already there. That does not help." Declan set the glass in front of her. Harper did not touch it. His gaze dropped to her stomach. "When did you last eat at work? What food?" His jaw tightened. "Harper." She laughed without humor. "You cannot interrogate me back into being your wife. You are still my wife, only because you made sure the divorce never moved forward." Silence settled over the penthouse. Declan looked toward the windows. "I did not sign the papers, I know. You left them with an attorney who refused to tell me where you were. He was doing his job. He disappeared 2 days later." Harper's head snapped up. "What did you do?" "Nothing." She searched his face. Declan gave a tired breath. He resigned. "He moved to Arizona. His family is safe. You frightened him. I asked questions. You never ask questions. You apply pressure until people give you the answer you want." Declan looked back at her. "And yet you are still standing here telling me no. That is because I finally learned how." For a moment, neither of them moved. The city spread beyond the windows in cold blue light. Lake Michigan was nearly black beneath the night sky. Harper remembered standing there on winter mornings while Declan fastened a necklace around her throat. She remembered believing no woman in Chicago had ever been safer. Now the same view felt like the wall of a beautiful prison. A woman appeared from the hallway. Nora Sloane had managed the penthouse since before Harper married Declan. She was in her early 50s, silver threaded through her dark hair posture straight enough to make every room feel inspected. Her eyes softened when she saw Harper. Mrs. Kane. Harper looked away. Nora, I prepared the master bedroom. The guest room, Harper said. Nora hesitated. Declan spoke behind her. The master bedroom has better security. The guest room has a door I can close. You can close any door in this home. Can I open the elevator? His expression hardened. Harper faced Nora. The guest room. Nora glanced at Declan. He remained silent for several seconds. Then he nodded once. The guest room. It was a small victory, but Harper felt it in her chest. She picked up the surveillance folder. This stays with me. Declan reached for it. She pulled it away. You said some of these photographs are not yours. I want to see them. You will. I want them now. His eyes narrowed. Harper held his gaze. At last he lowered his hand. Fine. Nora led Harper down the hallway. Nothing had changed. The same paintings, the same lamps, the same faint scent of cedar from the built-in cabinets. Harper passed the master bedroom without looking inside. The guest room waited at the end of the hall. Fresh clothes filled the closet. Maternity dresses, soft sweaters, new shoes. Every item was Harper's size. She turned to Nora. When did these arrive this afternoon? Declan had planned for her before entering the restaurant. Harper touched the sleeve of a pale blue dress. He knew. Nora's face remained carefully neutral. Mr. Kane prepares for possibilities. He prepares for obedience. Nora moved toward the bed and folded back the blanket. There is food in the kitchen. Dr. Grant will arrive tomorrow morning. I have a doctor. Mr. Kane has concerns about the clinic. Mr. Kane has concerns about anything he cannot control. Nora looked at her then. Something almost sympathetic passed through her expression. You should rest. Harper stepped toward the door. Nora. The older woman stopped. Do you believe I am safe here? Nora's hand remained on the handle. Yes, that is not the same as being free. No, Nora said quietly. It is not. She left. Harper locked the door behind her. The lock turned from the inside. That mattered more than it should have. She sat on the edge of the bed and opened the surveillance folder again. The photographs taken by Declan's people were crisp, distant, and professional. Harper could identify them by the clean angles and repeated vantage points. The others were different, closer, unsteady, personal. One image showed Harper asleep on her couch through a gap in the curtains. Her breath caught. Another showed Tessa leaving Harper's apartment after bringing groceries. Another showed Evan standing beside Harper outside the hospital, his hand near her elbow. A red circle had been drawn around his face. Harper felt the room tilt. She placed the photographs back inside the folder and rose too quickly. Pain pulled across her lower abdomen. She gripped the dresser until it passed. A soft knock sounded. Harper did not answer. Harper, Declan, she waited. I'm not coming in, good. Another pause. Are you in pain? No. That was not convincing. She crossed the room and opened the door only a few inches. Declan stood in the hallway without his jacket. The sleeves of his white shirt were rolled to his forearms. The sight brought back the warehouse so quickly that Harper recoiled. Declan noticed. His gaze dropped to his sleeves. Slowly he lowered them and fastened the cuffs. I did not think. You usually do. He accepted the accusation. Dr. Grant will be here at 9. I did not agree to that. She's one of the best obstetricians in the state. I already have prenatal care. At a clinic with rotating staff and no private security. Pregnant women do not usually need armed guards during an ultrasound. You do. Harper opened the door wider. You keep saying that as though your enemies are weather. They exist because of choices you made. They exist because power creates enemies. Then, give up the power. Declan's expression changed. For the first time that night, he looked almost surprised. You think it is something I can put down? You picked it up. I inherited it. You chose to keep it. His voice lowered. And if I walk away, every man beneath me starts fighting for what remains. Bodies fill the streets. Families who depend on my protection become targets. Men like Gideon take everything. Harper folded her arms over her stomach. You always make violence sound like public service, and you always make survival sound simple. They stood across the threshold from each other. Once that distance would not have existed. Once Harper would have reached for his tie and pulled him inside. Declan looked past her toward the bed. You need sleep. I need the elevator code. No, then stop pretending I am a guest. His eyes returned to hers. You are not a guest. The words landed with dangerous softness. Harper closed the door. The following morning, she woke to the smell of coffee and toasted bread. For one confused moment, she believed she was back in the marriage. Then she saw the surveillance folder beside her. Reality returned. She dressed in one of the maternity sweaters Declan had purchased. Her own uniform was gone. Someone had removed it during the night. The loss angered her more than it should have. The black dress had smelled like food and cleaning solution, but she had earned every stain on it. In the kitchen, Declan sat at the table reading messages on his phone. Breakfast covered the Marble Island. Eggs, fruit, toast yogurt, and the herbal tea Harper once drank when she had trouble sleeping. He looked up. You are pale. Good morning to you too. You should sit. I can decide when to sit. Nora placed a cup of tea near Harper. Harper looked at the chair farthest from Declan and took it. He noticed the choice. Did you sleep? Did your guards yes? Then someone had a peaceful night. Declan put down his phone. Eat. Harper stared at him. Try asking. His jaw tightened. Nora became very interested in arranging the fruit. Declan leaned back in his chair. Please eat. The word sounded unnatural in his mouth. Harper took a piece of toast. It was not obedience if she had made him ask. At 9, Dr. Allison Grant arrived carrying a compact medical case. She was in her 40s, composed and direct, with intelligent eyes that moved between Harper and Declan once before settling on Harper. I understand you have concerns about changing doctors. I have concerns about being forced to change doctors. Dr. Grant nodded. Then we should begin with consent. This appointment happens only if you want it. Mr. Kane remains only if you want him here. Nothing will be shared with anyone without your permission unless there is an immediate threat to your safety. Harper glanced at Declan. His face gave nothing away. You agreed to that, Dr. Grant answered. He did. Harper studied him for another moment. Fine. He can stay. Declan's shoulders loosened almost invisibly. The examination took place in a private sitting room beside the library. Dr. Grant checked Harper's blood pressure, asked about pain-sleep diet and previous appointments. Harper answered honestly until the doctor asked about stress. Harper looked at Declan. Significant. Dr. Grant followed her gaze. Stress can affect sleep appetite and blood pressure. It does not help that the baby is measuring slightly ahead of the dates in your records. Harper frowned. How far ahead I would like to confirm with the ultrasound. Declan stood near the window, silent. Dr. Grant spread gel across Harper's stomach and moved the probe. A soft rushing sound filled the room, then a heartbeat. Fast, steady, alive. Harper's anger disappeared beneath the sound. The screen showed the curve of a small head, a spine, a hand moving near a face. Declan stepped closer without seeming aware of it. Dr. Grant adjusted the image. Everything looks healthy. Growth is excellent. Harper released a breath she had been holding for months. How far? Approximately 28 weeks. Harper stared at her. That cannot be right. The earlier estimate may have been affected by irregular cycles or limited records. The measurements are consistent. 28 weeks. Harper counted backward. The answer arrived before she finished. The baby had been conceived during her marriage, before the warehouse, before she ran. There was no uncertainty left. Declan moved beside the examination table. His eyes remained fixed on the monitor. The child shifted. A small hand opened and closed. Something in Declan's face broke open. Not possession, not victory, fear. He looked like a man standing before something precious enough to destroy him. Dr. Grant smiled. Do you know the sex? Harper swallowed. A girl. Declan turned toward her. You knew, the clinic told me. You never said. I did not plan to tell you anything. The words were sharp, but his attention returned to the screen. Our daughter. Harper heard the change in his voice. Not heir, not blood, daughter. Dr. Grant printed several images. Have you chosen a name? Harper looked at the tiny profile on the screen. June. Declan glanced at her. Your grandmother. Harper had forgotten telling him that. She raised me. June Kane, he said quietly. June Lane. His eyes met hers. The disagreement remained between them, but he did not challenge her in front of the doctor. After the appointment, Harper found Declan alone in the library. He held one ultrasound image near the window, studying it as though it contained a language he had never learned. You can keep that one, Harper said. Declan looked at her. I was going to. He opened his wallet and placed the image behind his identification. The simple act struck deeper than any possessive declaration. Harper folded her arms. Do not mistake this for permission. I am not. You do not make decisions for her because your name is Kane. She is my daughter. She is also mine. I know. The absence of argument unsettled her. Declan closed the wallet. Did Brooks know Harper's body tightened? Evan knew I was pregnant. Did he believe the child was his? No. Were you sleeping with him? Harper stared at Declan. You watched us. You have photographs. You probably know how many times he bought coffee. I asked a question, and I do not owe you an answer. His voice became quieter. You were my wife. I was alone. The words stopped him. Harper stepped closer. You want to know what Evan was to me? He was kind when I had nothing he wanted. He explained things before touching me. He asked before making decisions. He helped me find a clinic. He brought food when I was too sick to stand. Declan's face hardened. He wanted you, maybe, but he never acted as though wanting me meant owning me. Declan turned toward the windows. The engagement to Camille was political. Harper almost laughed. That is your defense. It is the truth. You brought a woman into the same restaurant where I worked and discussed marrying her. I did not know you were serving that section, but you knew I was there. Yes. Harper's eyes narrowed. How much did Camille know? She knew I was locating someone important. Did she know it was your wife? Not until she saw you. And now the engagement is suspended. Because I am pregnant. Because you are back. I am not back. Declan faced her. You are standing in our home. I am standing in a locked apartment. He moved closer. Harper did not step away. The engagement existed because the West family controls access to the lake routes and half the political offices that matter. After you disappeared, Gideon began attacking our shipments. The West Alliance kept the city from turning into open war, so you replaced your missing wife with a treaty. No one replaced you. The answer came too quickly to be calculated. Harper saw the truth in it and hated that part of her responded. Declan continued. When you left, every rival in Chicago saw weakness. They believed I could not protect my own home. You mean they believed you could not control your wife? In my world, the difference is small. In mine, it is everything. He looked at her for a long moment. Then he reached into the desk and removed another file. Evan Brooks. Harper's stomach tightened. Declan opened it. 32, emergency medicine, no criminal record. $212,000 in student debt. Accepted a position in Seattle 6 weeks ago. Harper grabbed the file. You investigated him. I investigate everyone near you. He left because of you. Declan said nothing. Harper read the employment letter. The salary was nearly twice what Evan earned in Chicago. Housing included. Student debt assistance. You paid for this. I made the hospital a donation. You bought his life. I gave him an opportunity. You threatened him. I explained that remaining close to my wife carried risks. Harper struck him. The slap cracked through the library. Declan's head turned slightly. A thin line of blood appeared where Harper's ring had cut his lip. 2 guards moved outside the glass doors. Declan lifted one hand. They stopped. He touched the blood with his thumb. Harper's heart pounded, but she refused to retreat. Do that again, Declan said softly, and understand what it changes. Harper looked him directly in the eyes. It changes me. Something shifted in his expression. Not anger, recognition. Harper dropped Evan's file onto the desk and left. That night, the warehouse returned in her sleep. Aaron Shaw screamed from the chair. Declan turned toward the darkness. This time, he found Harper before she could run. She woke gasping. Pain tightened across her stomach. Harper curled around it, trying to breathe. A knock sounded at the door. Harper. She could not answer. The pain came again, The door opened. Declan entered, then stopped when he saw her. "I told you not to come in. You are in pain." He crossed the room and dropped beside the bed. Harper pushed at his shoulder. "Do not touch me." His hands lifted immediately. "Tell me where it hurts." "My stomach." Declan took out his phone and called Dr. Grant. His voice remained controlled, but his face had gone pale. The doctor asked questions through the speaker. The pain eased after several minutes. Dr. Grant said it sounded like a stress-related contraction and instructed Harper to drink water, rest, and call again if it returned. Declan remained on the floor. Harper leaned against the headboard, exhausted. "You can leave." He did not move. "You were right to be afraid that night," he said. Harper looked at him. Declan stared at the carpet. "Not because I would hurt you. Because I should have known what seeing that would do to you. You should have known not to do it. He was selling information that could have killed us. You always have a reason." "Yes. That does not make it right." "No." The admission surprised her. Declan rested one hand on the edge of the mattress without touching her. "I should have told you the truth before you found it in a warehouse." Harper's throat tightened. "You should have given me a choice before I married you." His eyes lifted. "I knew you would leave. So you lied. I kept the part of my life that would frighten you away from the part I wanted with you. That is still a lie." "Yes." The word sat between them. Harper closed her eyes. When she opened them again, Declan was still there. He had not touched her. He had not ordered her to forgive him. He simply remained beside the bed until her breathing became steady. The next morning, Harper returned to the surveillance folder. She spread the photographs across the dining table. Declan entered with coffee. Harper held up the image taken through her apartment window. "Your men know. The picture of Tessa, yours know. The photograph of Evan with the red circle around his face." Declan's eyes hardened. "No." Harper placed the final image on the table. A man stood across from her apartment building. Tall, broad-shouldered, wearing a dark overcoat. His face was turned partly toward the camera. Declan sat opposite her. Gideon Shaw. Harper remembered Aaron's final warning. "My brother will come for you." She turned the photograph over. Words had been written in red ink. "A father should know what it feels like to lose his future." Harper's hand moved to her stomach. "How long has he known we intercepted the first images 2 weeks ago? And you waited until the restaurant. We needed to identify his network. You used me as bait." "No, you watched him watch me." Declan leaned forward. "I had men around you at all times. I never saw them. That was the point." Harper pushed away from the table. "You could have told me. You would have run." "Yes, exactly." She stared at him. Declan reached for the photograph of Gideon. The dinner was not a coincidence. Camille's presence made the evening look routine. "Gideon's people expected me to be distracted. They did not know I had found you. You call what happened an extraction. That is what it was." Harper walked to the elevator and pressed the panel. Nothing happened. She pressed it again. The dark screen requested Declan's fingerprint. Then why am I still not allowed to leave? Declan's face became unreadable. He looked toward the hallway where Nora had disappeared moments earlier. "Because Gideon has someone inside this building." Harper stopped pressing the elevator panel. The dark glass reflected her face, pale and tense, with Declan standing several feet behind her. The city beyond the windows looked distant enough to belong to another life. "Who we do not know yet. You expect me to believe that I expect you to understand why no one leaves until I know." Harper turned. "No one leaves, or I do not leave." Declan held her gaze. "You do not." The answer came without apology. Harper looked toward the hallway. Nora had disappeared around the corner carrying a tray. 2 guards stood near the private entrance, both men Harper remembered from her marriage. One had once driven her to a charity luncheon. The other had held an umbrella over her while she crossed a sidewalk in the rain. Any one of them could be reporting to Gideon. Any one of them could also be reporting every breath she took to Declan. Harper returned to the dining table and gathered the photographs. If someone inside this building wants to hurt me, locking me inside with them does not sound like protection. Declan walked closer. The traitor does not know that we are aware of the breach. So I am bait again. No, you keep saying no after describing exactly that. A muscle moved in his jaw. I will find the leak. And until then, you stay where I can reach you. Harper placed the photographs back inside the folder. That is what you wanted before Gideon existed. Declan did not deny it. The honesty should have felt cleaner than another lie. It did not. That afternoon, Harper began watching the penthouse differently. Before she had looked for doors. Now she looked for patterns. Nora checked the security panel outside the study at 7 each evening. One guard changed shifts at noon, another at midnight. The kitchen delivery arrived through the service elevator at 6 in the morning. Every employee carried a black access card clipped inside a jacket or pocket. The camera outside Declan's study blinked red all day. At 9:14 that night, the light went dark. 4 minutes later, it returned. Harper noticed because she had been standing in the hallway pretending to examine a painting. The following night, it happened again. 9:14, 4 minutes. Then red. She began writing times on the back page of a novel in the guest room. Declan spent most of each day behind the study doors. Men arrived in quiet groups and left with their faces set. Sometimes Harper heard names she recognized from newspapers, judges, contractors, union leaders. Sometimes she heard names that never appeared in print. Gideon Shaw was mentioned most often. Evan Brooks was never mentioned at all. On the third morning, Harper found Declan in the kitchen, standing over a pan of eggs. She stopped in the doorway. "What are you doing?" He looked down at the burned edges. "Cooking. You have people for that." Nora had a security meeting. Harper glanced toward the hall. "You let her attend meetings. She runs half the building." The answer stayed with Harper. Declan placed the eggs on a plate. "They are edible. That sounds like an assumption." He set the plate in front of her. Harper sat because June had been pressing against her ribs since dawn and because hunger was beginning to make her hands shake. Declan poured tea. She watched his movements. "You trust Nora?" "Yes, completely no." He sat across from her. "I do not trust anyone completely, not even Wyatt." Something passed through his eyes so quickly that she almost missed it. Wyatt has earned more trust than most. Harper took a bite of the eggs. They were terrible. She ate them anyway. "Did he help you find me?" Declan folded his hands on the table. "Why are you asking about Wyatt? Because someone in this building is betraying you and you said you trust no one. I did not say the person was physically inside the penthouse. You said inside the building." Declan studied her. "Stop investigating, then tell me the truth. I have told you what you need to know. That sentence is why I am investigating." For a moment, Harper thought he might order a guard to follow her from room to room. Instead, he leaned back. "If you notice anything unusual, you tell me. And if I decide you are the unusual thing..." The corner of his mouth moved not quite a smile. That decision was made a long time ago. Later that afternoon, the private elevator chimed. Harper was in the library when she heard raised voices. Nora stepped into the hall. "You cannot be here." Camille West entered anyway. She wore a cream coat and dark glasses despite the gray Chicago sky. Her hair was pulled back tightly and there was no engagement ring on her hand. "My father owns 3 floors in this building," Camille said. "I can be wherever I choose." Nora lowered her voice. "Mr. Kane is not here, I know." Camille looked past her and found Harper. "That is why I came." Harper stood. Nora moved between them. "Mrs. Kane needs rest." Camille removed her glasses. "What she needs is information." Harper said, "Let her in." Nora's expression hardened. "That is not your decision." The room went still. Harper walked toward her. "In this house, apparently nothing is." Nora did not move. Camille reached into her coat and produced a phone. "If you make me call my father, every guard on this floor will be replaced before Declan returns." It was probably a bluff. Nora treated it like a loaded weapon. She stepped aside. Camille followed Harper into the library and closed the door. For several seconds, neither woman spoke. The silence carried everything that had happened at Astor House. The red dress, the diamond, Declan leaving one woman at the table to claim another in a manager's office. Harper crossed her arms. "If you came to accuse me of ruining your engagement, save your breath." Camille placed her glasses on a side table. "I did not love Declan. That must make the wedding planning easier. I respected what the marriage would accomplish." Harper gave a bitter laugh. "Only people born into families like yours can say that without hearing how insane it sounds." Camille's expression did not change. "You married him. I did not know what he was. You knew enough. The accusation struck because it was true. Harper looked away. Camille continued. I did not know you were pregnant until you walked into that room. But you knew he was looking for me. I knew he had located someone Gideon Shaw was watching. Declan said the dinner would draw attention away from an extraction. An extraction. That is his word, not mine. He brought you as a distraction. He brought me because Gideon expected us to be discussing the alliance. Harper turned back. Was your anger real? Camille looked at her bare hand. Some of it. You thought you would marry him. I thought he had accepted that love was no longer relevant. The words carried more pain than Camille seemed willing to acknowledge. Harper studied her. And now my father believes Declan embarrassed our family. Gideon believes the alliance is collapsing. Half the city believes I was discarded for a pregnant waitress. Harper flinched. Camille noticed. I am not insulting you. I am describing the story people will tell. Why help me? Camille's gaze shifted toward the closed door. Because Declan may save your life. That does not mean he will give it back to you. She removed a small prepaid phone from her coat and placed it in Harper's hand. There is one message. Harper looked at the screen. From who? Listen. She pressed play. Static filled the room. Then Evan's voice. Harper, I was wrong about Seattle. His breathing sounded uneven. Someone has been following me. They keep asking where Declan would take you if Chicago became unsafe. I did not tell them anything. I do not know anything. A noise sounded in the background. A door slamming. A man shouting too far from the phone to understand. Evan spoke faster. Do not trust anyone who says they are protecting you. They all want something. A crash cut through the recording. Then silence. Harper played it again. The second time hurt more. When was this sent? 6 days ago. Where is he? No one knows. Harper gripped the phone. Declan said Evan accepted a job in Seattle. He did. Did Declan know this happened? Camille's eyes became guarded. You will have to ask him. That means yes. It means Declan knows more than he tells anyone. Harper crossed the room and looked out over the lake. The glass felt cold beneath her palm. Why did the message go to your family? One of our contacts at the hospital received it. Evan believed we were still aligned with Declan, and your father sat on it for 6 days. My father does not move without knowing who benefits. Harper turned. And you, Camille, picked up her glasses. I would rather owe you than Declan. She reached the door, then paused. If you plan to search his study, the code begins with the year his mother died. Harper's heart kicked once. Camille opened the door. Nora stood directly outside. Camille smiled as though she had expected nothing else. Tell Declan I stopped by. She walked toward the elevator. Nora remained in the doorway. What did she give you? Harper slipped the phone into the pocket of her dress. Advice. Mrs. West does not give anything without a price. Neither does Declan. Nora's eyes dropped briefly toward Harper's pocket. Then she stepped aside. Declan returned after dark. He entered the penthouse with rain on his shoulders and blood near the cuff of his shirt. Harper saw it from the living room. He saw her see it. This is not mine, he said. That does not make it better. Declan removed the jacket and handed it to a guard. Nora said Camille was here. She was. What did she want to speak to me without your permission? His gaze sharpened. What did she say? Harper took out the prepaid phone and pressed play. Evan's voice filled the room. Declan did not react until the message ended. Then he held out his hand. Give me the phone. No, Harper. Where is he? We are looking. You knew. I knew he missed 2 shifts and never returned to his apartment. You knew Gideon's men were following him. We suspected. And you said nothing. Declan's voice remained controlled. You were already frightened, so you lied to keep me calm. I withheld information until I understood it. You always call lies by better names. Declan stepped closer. Brooks contacted you before he disappeared. Harper remembered the call she had ignored after Evan moved to Seattle. His voice had sounded strained. He had asked her to meet him. She had believed he regretted leaving. You knew about that too. I know every call made to your number. Harper stared at him. You have my phone monitored. I have the network monitored. That is not a difference. It is to the people trying to find you. Harper lifted the prepaid phone. Evan may be dead because he helped me. If Gideon took him, it was because he believed Brooks knew where you were. He did not. Then he had nothing useful to give them. The cold logic in Declan's voice made Harper sick. He is a person, Declan. I know. No. You know he is a variable. Something flashed across his face. You think I am not searching for him? I think you only care because he might lead Gideon here. Declan looked toward the windows. When he spoke again, his voice was quieter. I care because you care. Harper hated the warmth that tried to rise beneath her anger. She pushed it down. Then prove it. I will. That is not enough. Declan's attention shifted toward the hallway as footsteps approached. Wyatt Mercer entered the penthouse. He wore a dark coat and carried himself with the same loose confidence Harper remembered from dinners years earlier. He looked tired but alive. Very alive. He smiled when he saw her. Harper. She had not seen him since the night at the warehouse. Her body stiffened. Wyatt noticed. The smile disappeared. I am glad you are safe. Are you? Declan turned toward him. What happened? Wyatt handed him a sealed envelope. We lost another route near the river. Someone gave Gideon the schedule. Declan opened the envelope and scanned the pages. Who had access? 6 people. Narrow it. I already did. Wyatt looked toward Nora, only for a second. Nora saw it. So did Harper. Declan folded the papers. Study. Wyatt followed him. Before the doors closed, Harper heard Declan say, no more mistakes. At 9:14, the camera outside the study went dark. Harper stood in the guest room watching the time on the prepaid phone. She waited 30 seconds. Then she stepped into the hallway. No guards stood near the library. Nora was downstairs in the security office. Declan had left for a meeting with Camille's father. Wyatt was supposed to be across the city. The study camera remained dark. Harper approached the keypad. Camille had said the code began with the year Declan's mother died. Declan rarely spoke about his mother. Harper knew only that Declan Kane died when he was 16. She entered the year, 4 digits lit green. The panel requested 2 more. Harper closed her eyes. Declan's birthday, their wedding date, the number of the house where he grew up. None worked. The camera light remained dark. 3 minutes left. Harper remembered the first time Declan told her about his mother. He had said she called him by his middle name when no one else did. James. The alphabet position of J was 10. She entered 1 and 0. The lock released. Inside the study smelled like leather and smoke. Harper moved quickly. Declan's desk held no loose papers. Every drawer required a key except one that had not closed completely. She pulled it open. Passports lay beneath a black ledger. 3 names. Daniel Cole, Hannah Cole, June Cole. Harper stared at the infant passport application. Her daughter had been given a new identity before she was born. Beside the documents was a flight plan from a private airfield outside Chicago to Montana. Departure date left blank. A map showed a ranch surrounded by thousands of acres of forest. Harper turned to the black ledger. Payments had been made to a company called Mercer Logistics. The dates continued through the previous week. Wyatt was still receiving money. She photographed every page with the prepaid phone. A second folder contained medical records for Evan, his Seattle address, his hospital schedule, a photograph of his car outside a gas station in Indiana, not Seattle, Indiana. Harper heard the study door close. She turned. Declan stood with one hand on the handle. The camera light outside had returned. You entered my study. Harper held up the passport. You created a new life for me without asking. His expression became still. You were not supposed to find that yet. Yet. Harper. She threw the passport onto his desk. How long have you been planning to erase me? I am planning to keep you alive. You chose my name. You chose June's name. You chose where we live. The ranch is secure. I do not care. You will when Gideon comes through that door. You keep using him to justify everything you wanted before he found me. Declan stepped closer. The threat is real. So is the cage. His voice sharpened. You think I... The answer stopped him. Harper pointed toward the files. You enjoy knowing where I am. You enjoy controlling who speaks to me. You enjoy making every decision before I know there is a decision to make. I enjoy breathing while you are still alive. You do not get to turn fear into ownership. Declan struck the desk with his palm. The sound made Harper jump. What do you want me to do? His control finally cracked. Let Gideon take you. Let him cut our daughter from your body and send her to me in pieces. Harper recoiled. Declan saw the horror on her face. Regret came too late. The room became silent. Harper covered June with both hands. "You are the only person in this room who could say something like that and call it protection." Declan stepped back. "Harper." "No." She moved toward the door. He did not stop her. At the threshold she turned. "Find Evan. We are looking. I want proof." Declan's face hardened again. "What does that mean?" "It means I see the reports. I hear the calls. I know where your people are searching. That information is sensitive. So is my life." He said nothing. Harper continued. "Tessa gets protection, real protection, no threats, no tracking inside her apartment, no punishment because she helped me." Declan studied her as though she had become someone he did not recognize. "And if I agree, I cooperate until Gideon is found. Cooperate. I stay here. I attend medical appointments. I do not attempt to leave without security." Declan moved around the desk. "And after Gideon, that is not part of this agreement." His jaw tightened. Harper waited. At last he said, "You will receive the search reports on Brooks. Tessa will be protected under your conditions. You say that like you are granting mercy. I am saying yes." Harper nodded once. "Then we have an agreement." She left the study with the prepaid phone still in her pocket. Declan did not ask for it again. 3 mornings later, Harper woke before sunrise to a sound like thunder beneath the building. The floor trembled. Glass shattered somewhere beyond her room. Then came gunfire. Not distant. Inside the tower. Harper sat upright. June moved sharply beneath her ribs. The bedroom door opened. Declan entered wearing dark clothes and a shoulder holster. Blood marked the side of his shirt. "Safe room. Now." Harper climbed from the bed. "Is that yours?" No, another burst of gunfire echoed through the hallway. Nora appeared behind Declan with a pistol in her hand. "They took the lobby," she said. "At least 20 men." Declan looked toward the guards. "Seal the private floors. No elevators, no stairs." Nora reached for Harper. Harper pulled away. "Where is Wyatt?" Declan checked the weapon in his hand. Working. The lights went out. Emergency lamps flooded the hallway in red. Nora guided Harper toward the study as smoke began curling from the service corridor. A security screen near the hidden door flickered to life. Armed men moved through the marble lobby below. One figure stood at the center of them, directing the assault with a raised hand. Harper leaned closer to the screen. Wyatt Mercer looked directly into the camera. Alive. Armed. Leading Gideon Shaw's men into Declan's building. For one suspended second, Harper forgot the gunfire, the smoke and the hard pressure of June moving beneath her ribs. Wyatt had stood beside Declan at their wedding. He had toasted their marriage with a glass of bourbon and told Harper she was the first person who had ever made his friend look human. Now he was walking through the lobby beside the men who wanted Declan dead. Nora pulled Harper away from the monitor, inside. A section of the study wall had opened behind Declan's desk. Beyond it waited a narrow steel corridor lit by dim red lamps. Harper resisted. "You said Wyatt was working." Declan checked the magazine in his pistol. "He is. For Gideon." Another explosion shook the building. Dust fell from the ceiling. Somewhere in the hall, a guard shouted for medical help. Declan stepped close enough that Harper could see the fury in his eyes. "Go with Nora. Tell me the truth. I do not have time." "You never have time when the truth matters." His hand closed around her upper arm, firm but controlled. "Harper, if those men reach this floor, they will not take you alive unless Gideon believes hurting you slowly will hurt me more. I need you behind that door." The image Declan had forced into her mind days earlier returned with sickening clarity. Harper pulled her arm free. "Do not use June to silence me. I am using every second I have to keep her breathing." Nora moved between them. Mrs. Kane now. A burst of gunfire erupted from the service hall. Declan turned toward it. The change in him was immediate. The husband disappeared. The father disappeared. What remained was the man Harper had seen inside the warehouse. Cold, focused, built for violence. He gave Nora one final order. "Do not open the room for anyone except me." Then he walked toward the gunfire. Harper watched him disappear around the corner. Nora guided her into the corridor and pressed her palm against a scanner. A second steel door opened. The safe room looked nothing like the rest of the penthouse. There was no art, no marble, no soft furniture chosen to impress guests. The walls were reinforced steel, shelves held water, food blankets, and medical supplies. A narrow bed stood beside a locked weapons cabinet. 6 monitors covered the far wall. Each displayed a different view of the tower, the lobby, the parking garage, the private elevator, the stairwells, the penthouse halls, the roof. Nora sealed the door behind them, a series of locks engaged inside the wall. Harper moved toward the screens. Smoke rolled through the lobby below. The elegant marble floor was covered in glass and dark streaks of blood. Men in black tactical clothing advanced behind shields while Declan's guards fired from behind the front desk. On another screen, 2 attackers forced open the service stairwell door. A Kane guard fell backward. Harper turned away before she saw where the bullet struck him. "How many people are in the building?" "Only security. What about the concierge? The cleaning staff removed before dawn?" Harper looked at Nora. Declan knew this was coming. He knew an attack was possible. No, he removed civilians before it started. Nora opened the weapons cabinet and took out another pistol. "Mr. Kane prepares for every possibility. That is what you said when I found maternity clothes waiting for me." Nora checked the chamber. "This is not the time." Harper looked back at the monitors. Declan appeared on the screen covering the East Hall. He moved behind 2 guards, gave a signal, and stepped into the open. The weapon in his hand rose. An attacker fell. Declan fired again. A second man disappeared behind a doorway. There was no hesitation in him, no panic. He moved through the ruined penthouse as though every step had been practiced. Harper placed one hand against the monitor. This was the man she had married, not the man who brought her coffee in bed, not the man who remembered her grandmother's name. The man beneath all of that. The man who survived because he was more dangerous than everyone trying to kill him. June kicked hard. Harper pulled her hand away. "Sit down," Nora said. "I am fine. You are not. I said I am fine." The words sounded like Declan. Harper hated that. She began studying the monitors instead. Wyatt and Gideon's men had reached the 20th floor. They moved through the building in groups of 4. Every group followed the same route. No one attempted to enter the residential floors below the penthouse. No one searched offices that might contain financial records. They passed several unguarded doors without checking them. "What are they looking for?" Harper asked. Nora did not respond. "If Gideon wants Declan's empire, why is he sending everyone directly upstairs? He wants Mr. Kane and me." "Yes." The answer came too quickly. Harper watched the screen covering the north stairwell. 3 attackers reached a landing. One placed an explosive charge against the door. The blast opened it. Instead of rushing through, they waited. 10 seconds later, Declan's guards retreated from the other side. Only then did the attackers advance. Harper frowned. The movement was too clean. On the lobby monitor, the fighting looked vicious, but the gunfire came in controlled bursts. Men fell behind cover where the cameras could no longer see them. Several bodies remained strangely still, yet Harper saw no blood near them. The security team gave up each position at exact intervals. They know where Declan's men will retreat. Nora kept her eyes on the weapons cabinet. Gideon has inside information. No. Harper stepped closer to the screens. They know because they were told. A camera in the west corridor flickered. Wyatt appeared again. He raised his hand. The men behind him stopped immediately. Then he looked directly into the lens and tapped 2 fingers against his chest. The screen went black. Harper remembered Wyatt using the same signal years earlier at dinner when Declan wanted the room cleared without alarming her guests. "It is a command signal." Nora said nothing. Harper turned. "You recognized it. Sit down. This is not an attack." Nora's face remained controlled, but her silence had changed. It was no longer patience. It was warning. Harper walked toward the steel door. Nora moved into her path. "You cannot leave. I need to speak to Declan." Mr. Kane gave clear instructions. Declan lies. My instructions do not change because you are angry. Harper looked at the pistol in Nora's hand. "Would you shoot me?" Nora's expression tightened. "No." "Would you drag me away from that door if necessary?" Harper felt a cold understanding settle through her. "You are not my protector. I have protected you since the day you entered this family. You report everything I say to him. You watch me sleep. You lock doors when I ask to leave. I keep you alive." Harper laughed once. "You all use the same words." An alarm began pulsing through the room. One monitor showed flames spreading across the records office. Another showed men carrying black cases into the financial suite. Harper leaned closer. They were not stealing the files. They were replacing them. A man removed one box from a cabinet and placed another inside. What is? That Nora did not answer. Harper watched two attackers pour fuel across rows of filing cabinets. The scene became clear. The removed civilians, the controlled retreat, the replacement records, the carefully placed fires. Declan was not defending his empire. He was destroying the evidence of it. You knew, Harper whispered. Nora's hand tightened around the pistol. This conversation is over. No, it is finally beginning. On the roof monitor, a helicopter lifted into the gray morning sky. It carried several men and two large containers. Declan had been moving assets out of the building while everyone believed it was under attack. Harper looked toward Nora. The passports, the ranch, Wyatt's payments. This was planned before Gideon found me. Nora said nothing. He is faking his death. The lights flickered. A deep vibration moved through the walls. One of the ceiling panels released a thin cloud of dust. Harper's abdomen tightened. She drew in a sharp breath and pressed both hands beneath her stomach. Nora's entire posture changed. What is it? Nothing. You are in pain. It will pass. Another contraction spread across Harper's abdomen. This one was stronger than the pain in the guest room. She bent forward. Nora placed the pistol on the table and moved toward her. Sit down. Harper allowed Nora to guide her toward the narrow bed. Breathe slowly. Harper closed her eyes. She counted. 1, 2, 3. Nora reached for the medical cabinet. Harper opened her eyes and saw the black access card clipped inside Nora's belt. The contraction began to ease. Harper kept her face tight. It is getting worse. Nora turned away to retrieve a blood pressure cuff. Harper pulled the card free. She slipped it beneath her palm. Nora returned. Lie back. I need water. Nora reached toward the shelf. Harper stood and pressed the access card against the emergency panel. The door gave a warning tone. Nora spun around. Do not. Harper pressed the card again. The first lock released. Nora reached for her. Harper backed against the panel. You cannot shoot me. You cannot hurt the baby. And you cannot keep pretending this is for my safety. Harper, you do not understand what is outside. Neither do you. The second lock released. Nora grabbed Harper's wrist. Harper held the access card above her head. Let go. Mr. Kane will kill me if anything happens to you. Then maybe you should stop helping him make things happen to me. The final lock disengaged. The door opened several inches. Smoke entered the room. Nora released Harper and reached for the pistol on the table. Harper stepped into the steel corridor. Stay behind me, Nora said. Harper almost laughed at the absurdity. Even now, Nora was trying to protect the prisoner escaping her protection. The corridor opened into Declan's study. Part of the ceiling had collapsed. Smoke moved across the floor. Glass covered the carpet, reflecting the red emergency lights. No gunfire came from the hallway. Harper stepped over a broken lamp. Nora followed with the weapon raised. They reached the study doors. The corridor beyond was almost silent. A wounded guard sat against the wall with a bandage around his shoulder. When he saw Harper, he tried to stand. Mrs. Kane, you need to return to the room. Harper kept walking. The farther she moved through the penthouse, the stranger the scene became. Men from Gideon's group stood beside Declan's guards. Some were lowering their weapons. Others removed dark outer jackets to reveal Kane's security uniforms beneath them. No one seemed surprised to see Wyatt. No one fired at him. Harper entered the living room. The windows overlooking the lake had shattered. Wind drove smoke and rain through the opening. Furniture lay overturned. Blood marked the pale floor. At the center of the room, Declan stood face to face with Wyatt. Harper stopped. Wyatt lowered his weapon. Declan pulled him into a brief embrace. Not the greeting of enemies, not the surrender of a traitor, the embrace of brothers who had survived something together. Declan stepped back. You were late. Gideon changed the route twice. Did he suspect you? He suspects everyone. Wyatt looked toward the hallway and saw Harper. His expression changed. Declan followed his gaze. For the first time that morning, real alarm crossed his face. Why are you out of the safe room? Harper walked toward him. Men moved aside without being told. She saw no fear in them, no confusion. They all knew exactly what was happening. You staged a war. Declan glanced at Nora. Nora lowered her eyes. I am sorry. Leave us, Declan said. Nora hesitated. Now she walked away. Wyatt remained. Harper looked at him. You are not working for Gideon. I have been inside his organization for 9 months. You let me believe you betrayed Declan. Wyatt's expression became guarded. That was necessary. Harper turned to Declan. You told me he was gone. He was. You wanted me to believe you killed him. I wanted anyone listening to believe it. Anyone listening. Harper looked around the destroyed room. Every conversation, every argument. You assumed someone was listening. We knew the building was compromised. So you lied to me as part of the performance. Declan's face hardened. I did what I had to do. Harper laughed, and the sound nearly became a sob. You always do. Declan ordered the remaining men to clear the room. Wyatt stayed near the broken windows. Harper pointed toward the smoke rising from the financial office. Tell me everything. Declan looked toward the hallway where his men were moving evidence. This building will be destroyed before noon. I can see that. Federal investigators will find records connecting the Kane organization to accounts that no longer exist. They will find blood weapons, burned documents, and enough biological evidence to identify me. Harper stared at him. Your blood stored months ago. You planned your own death? Yes. The word carried no shame. Declan continued. Gideon believed Wyatt was bringing him away into the building. He believed my security team was divided, and the West Alliance was collapsing. Did Camille know? She knew enough. Her anger at the restaurant, partly real. Harper remembered Camille saying the same thing. Declan stepped closer. The engagement gave us access to her family's political network. Her father will publicly condemn me. He will claim control over several businesses while investigators dismantle what appears to remain, and you disappear. With you in June. You built false identities before asking whether I would go. I could not ask you without risking the entire operation. You could have told me after I was inside the penthouse. We still had a leak. You could have trusted me. Declan's expression shifted. You ran the last time you saw what survival required. Harper felt the words like a slap. I ran because I watched my husband torture a man. Aaron Shaw sold information that put hundreds of people at risk. He begged for his family. He used his family as a shield after betraying mine. Harper looked toward the blood on the floor. How many people died this morning? 5. Her stomach turned. 5 people for your disappearance. 5 men who came here intending to kill us. You invited them. I gave them a chance to reveal themselves. That does not make you innocent. I have never claimed innocence. The answer came without hesitation. That was the difference between Declan and everyone who served him. They dressed violence in loyalty, necessity, and protection. Declan did not need to believe he was good. He only needed to believe he was right. Harper looked at Wyatt, and Gideon Wyatt answered. He was supposed to enter with the second group. He stayed below street level, sent his men ahead. Declan's jaw tightened. He suspected a trap. So this failed. No, Declan said. The organization still dies today. The federal case still closes around a corpse. The assets are already moving. Harper stepped closer to him. And what happens to everyone who trusted you? Those loyal to me were offered a place in the new structure or enough money to disappear. Everyone. His silence gave her the answer. Harper glanced at the wounded guard in the hall. You decided which lives were worth carrying with you. I decided which people would survive without me. You decided everything. Yes. The word echoed through the broken room. Harper's voice became quieter. What choice did I make? Declan looked at her stomach. You chose to keep our daughter. That was my choice. Bringing me here was yours. Watching me was yours. Threatening Evan was yours. Creating passports was yours. I kept you alive. You trapped me inside a plan I could not see. Because if you had seen it, you would have run. Maybe I had the right. Declan's face tightened. You had the right to place yourself in danger. You did not have the right to place June there. Harper stared at him. There it is. What? The reason you think my body belongs to you. I did not say that. You never have to say it. Every lock says it for you. The wind moved through the shattered windows. Somewhere below, another alarm began ringing. Wyatt's phone vibrated. He checked the screen and looked toward Declan. We found Brooks. Harper turned so quickly that pain pulled across her stomach. Where Wyatt hesitated, Declan nodded. "Tell her. A warehouse outside Gary. Is he alive?" "Yes." The word left Harper weak. She gripped the back of a chair. Wyatt continued. "He has a broken arm, 2 cracked ribs, and a head injury. Gideon's men kept him alive because they believed he knew where Harper would go if she ran again." Harper covered her mouth. Evan's voice returned. "Do not trust anyone who says they are protecting you. Where is he now?" "Our people are moving him to a private hospital." Harper looked at Declan. "You knew Wyatt was close to finding him." "Yes. You let me believe he might be dead. I could not expose Wyatt's position. You could have told me there was hope. Hope makes people careless. No. Hope makes people human." Declan looked as if he wanted to reach for her. Harper stepped away before he could. "You always have a reason. Reasons are how people like us survive. People like you." The distinction landed between them. For a moment, Declan looked more wounded than he had when she slapped him. Then the alarms changed. A mechanical voice announced that fire suppression had failed on the lower floors. Wyatt glanced at his watch. "The helicopter leaves in 40 minutes. Harper looked at him. "What helicopter?" Declan answered. "It will take us to the private airfield, and then Montana." The ranch from the map. The life named Hannah Cole. The daughter called June Cole before she had taken her first breath. Harper walked toward the elevator. Declan followed. "Where are you going out?" "The building is not secure. The building is being destroyed. I need you to listen. I have listened to you explain every violation as necessity." Harper reached the elevator panel. The screen remained dark. Declan stood behind her. "If you leave now, Gideon will find you. Then give me a guard. He will use anyone near you. Then take me to Evan." Declan's face became unreadable. Harper turned. "You want me on that helicopter because it completes your plan, not because it is my only option. It is the safest option. That is not the same thing." He looked past her toward Wyatt. Wyatt remained silent. Harper held out her hand. "Open the elevator." Declan did not move. "Declan." Smoke gathered near the ceiling. The alarms continued. At last he reached inside his jacket. He placed a phone in Harper's palm. Then a set of keys. The phone connects directly to Wyatt's team. The keys open the armored vehicle in the private garage. Harper stared at him. "If you leave, Wyatt will take you to Brooks." Wyatt looked surprised, but said nothing. Declan continued. "You will have security. You will not see them unless you need them. More invisible guards." "Yes. And if I tell them to leave, they will increase their distance." Harper almost laughed. "You cannot help yourself." No, the honesty hurt more than another argument. She looked down at the keys. "You would let me go?" Declan's expression remained controlled, but his eyes did not. "I would not survive it well. That is not what I asked." His breathing changed. Harper waited. Every man in the room seemed to feel the weight of the question. Declan Kane could command judges, police officers, criminals, and politicians. He could destroy a tower and erase an empire before breakfast. But giving Harper permission to walk away required something violence never had. "Surrender." "Yes," he said. The word was almost lost beneath the alarms. "I would let you go." Harper closed her fingers around the keys. She stepped into the private elevator. Declan did not follow. The doors began to close. Harper looked at him through the narrowing space. He stood in the ruins of everything he had built, blood on his shirt, smoke behind him, and no command left that she was required to obey. Then Wyatt's phone rang. He answered. His face changed. "Declan." The elevator doors stopped. Wyatt lowered the phone. Gideon escaped the perimeter. The elevator doors remained open. Harper stood inside with the keys clenched in one hand and Declan's phone in the other. Smoke drifted through the ruined penthouse behind him. The alarms continued, but every other sound seemed to fall away beneath Wyatt's words. Declan turned toward his oldest friend. "How he used the service tunnel beneath the garage. We found 2 dead guards near the west exit. Vehicle black sedan, no plates. Direction south." Declan reached for the phone at his side. Harper stepped out of the elevator. He looked at her. "You should go. To Evan, yes. And where will you go after Gideon?" She studied the blood drying near his collar and the smoke caught in his hair. "You think he escaped by accident?" Declan's eyes narrowed. "No. Then someone gave him the route. We are checking every access record. Your building is burning. Your records are being destroyed. How much will be left to check? Declan said nothing. Harper looked toward Wyatt. Who knew about the service tunnel? Declan, me, Nora, 4 members of the inner security team, and Camille's family. Wyatt hesitated. They helped design part of the evacuation plan. Declan's attention sharpened. You think the West family helped Gideon? I think Gideon knew too much. Wyatt moved closer, lowering his voice. The ambulance carrying Brooks is heading toward St. Matthew's private wing. If Gideon knows where he is, he may try to intercept it. Harper's body went cold. Declan spoke immediately. Change the route. Wyatt was already sending instructions. Where? Harper asked. Declan looked at her. The airfield. You are bringing Evan to the same place as us. It is the most secure location we still control. You do not control it if Gideon knows about the plan. I control the people there. You thought you controlled the people here. The words struck him, but he did not answer. Wyatt ended the call. The ambulance is changing course. 2 vehicles will meet them near the interstate. Declan checked the weapon at his side. You take Harper. Wyatt nodded. Harper shook her head. No. Declan turned. This is not a negotiation. It became one when you handed me the keys. I handed them to you so you could leave safely. And I am choosing where I go. Harper, I am going with you. His expression hardened. Absolutely not. If Gideon knows about Evan and the airfield separating us does not make anyone safer. It only gives him more targets. He wants you. He wants to hurt you. That means he wants whatever you are least willing to lose. Declan moved closer. That is exactly why you are not coming. Harper held her ground. You told me I had a choice. Was that only true while I made the choice you expected? His jaw tightened. The ruined room watched them in silence. Wyatt shifted his weight, but he did not interfere. Harper continued. I am not going back into the safe room. I am not sitting in a locked vehicle while men decide where my life belongs. I stay with you until Evan is safe and Gideon is found. Declan's gaze dropped to her stomach. Harper placed one hand over June. You do not get to use her to end this conversation. I am trying to keep both of you alive. Then stop treating me like something that can only be carried. For several seconds, Declan did not move. Then he reached inside a damaged cabinet and removed a dark coat. He placed it around Harper's shoulders. Stay beside me. Harper looked at him. That is not permission to order me. No, he said. It is a request. The word changed something. Not enough, but something. They moved through the damaged penthouse toward the private stairs. Smoke coated the walls. Sprinklers had flooded the marble floor, turning ash into gray streaks beneath their shoes. Men carried boxes from the financial office, while others placed charges along support columns. Harper stopped. You are bringing the building down. Only the upper private floors. What about the tower the structure will hold? Declan placed one hand near her back, close enough to catch her if she slipped, but not touching her. They reached the garage through a protected stairwell. 3 armored vehicles waited beneath white emergency lights. Nora stood beside the first. Her face showed no surprise when she saw Harper. You opened the safe room, Declan said. Nora kept her posture straight. She took my access card. Declan looked at Harper. She lifted her chin. Nora continued. I should have stopped her. No, Declan said. You should have told me she was capable of stopping herself. Nora's expression shifted slightly. Declan handed her a weapon. You ride in the second vehicle. Harper stepped toward Nora. Did you know Gideon would escape? No. Did you know the attack was staged? I knew Mr. Kane planned to destroy the organization. That is not what I asked. Nora met her eyes. Yes. Harper absorbed the answer. Every person around Declan seemed to carry a private version of the truth. No one lied exactly the same way, but they all protected the same center. Him. The garage doors opened. Cold morning air swept inside. Declan guided Harper toward the lead vehicle. Before she entered, she turned to him. My conditions. This is not the place. It is the only place I have your full attention. Gunfire sounded faintly in the distance. Declan looked toward the exit, then back at her. Speak. Evan receives medical care. No threats. No forced relocation unless he chooses it. Agreed. Tessa is protected without being watched inside her home. Agreed. I keep my own phone money, identification, and access to transportation. His expression changed. Harper waited. Agreed. Decisions about June are made by both of us. She is my daughter. That is why I said both. Declan looked at the men waiting around them. No one spoke. Agreed. You tell me about any threat involving me or June. No hidden files, no secret operations, no more deciding I am too frightened to hear the truth. That information can put you in danger. Lies already did. His eyes hardened, but he nodded. Agreed. Harper took a breath. If you lock me away again, if you use June to keep me married, or if you lie about our safety, I leave with her. The silence deepened. Declan's face became unreadable. That condition is not reasonable. It is the only one that matters. You cannot take my daughter. You cannot imprison her mother. Declan stepped closer. The men around them turned their attention elsewhere, pretending not to hear. Harper looked up at him. You wanted the woman who left you. She is gone. This is who came back. Declan's voice lowered. If you leave with June, every enemy I have will follow. Then give me a reason to stay that is not fear. He looked at her as though she had asked him to set fire to the last thing he owned. Perhaps she had. A burst of radio traffic came from Wyatt's vehicle. Declan remained still. Finally, he said, Agreed. Harper searched his face. You mean it. I do not say things I do not mean. You lie. I lie when I believe the truth creates danger. That is still lying. Yes. He opened the vehicle door. But I agree. Harper climbed inside. Declan followed. The convoy left the garage beneath a curtain of rain. Chicago moved around them in fragments. Police vehicles raced toward the tower. Helicopters circled above the river. Smoke rose behind the skyline, dark against the morning. Declan sat across from Harper, speaking into a secure phone. Close every road between Gary and the interstate. I want eyes on all ramps and service stations. He ended the call and turned toward Wyatt. How long until the ambulance reaches the airfield? 20 minutes. Gideon. No confirmation. Harper watched the city pass. Where is Camille? Declan looked at her. With her father. Are you sure? No. That answer surprised her. Wyatt checked a message. The West convoy left the Gold Coast 10 minutes ago. Declan's eyes sharpened. Destination unknown. Harper remembered Camille handing her the prepaid phone. She remembered the warning. Declan may save your life. That does not mean he will give it back to you. Camille knew about the airfield, Harper said. Declan did not respond. She knew enough to know you were leaving Chicago. She knew we had an exit strategy. Did she know the location? Number Wyatt looked up from his phone. Her father did. The convoy entered the interstate. Rain struck the windshield in steady waves. Harper placed both hands beneath her stomach as June shifted. Declan noticed. Pain, no. You are pale. I have been taken from my job, locked in a penthouse, shown photographs of a man watching me sleep, placed inside a fake war and driven toward a private airfield before breakfast. Wyatt looked toward the window. Declan did not. You should be examined when we arrive. Ask. His jaw tightened. Will you let the doctor examine you? Yes. The response seemed to unsettle him more than refusal. The secure phone rang. Declan answered. Wyatt watched his face. What happened? Harper asked. Declan lowered the phone. The escort vehicles found Evan's ambulance, and the driver is dead. Harper stopped breathing. What about Evan alive? The medical team is alive. Gideon not there. Wyatt took the phone and listened to the report. The rear doors were open. One guard is missing. Declan looked toward the road ahead. He wants us to keep moving. Harper understood. He wants the airfield. Declan nodded. He knows we are taking Evan there. Then turn around. There is nowhere more secure. You keep saying secure about places Gideon enters. Declan looked at Wyatt. How many men at the airfield? 24. Double the perimeter. Search every vehicle. Wyatt sent the order. Harper leaned forward. What does Gideon gain by attacking the airfield? Declan's voice became quiet. Proof that I am alive. If the world believes you died in the tower, one photograph destroys the plan. Yes. And if he kills you there, then he takes what remains. Harper looked down at the phone in her hand. Call Camille. Declan frowned. Why? Because if her father gave Gideon the location, she may know. She may be part of it. Then hearing her voice may tell us. Declan handed Harper another phone. Camille answered on the third ring. Declan, it is Harper. Silence. Then where are you on the road? Turn around. Declan leaned closer to the speaker. Why? Camille exhaled. My father made a deal with Gideon. He believes Declan's death leaves the city open for the West family. Declan's expression did not change. Harper asked, "Does Gideon know about the airfield?" "Yes. Is your father with him?" "No. My father thinks Gideon is attacking the convoy near the interstate." Wyatt looked toward Declan. "A second trap," Camille continued. "Gideon does not intend to attack you on the road. He wants the plane. He plans to let you board and then destroy it before takeoff." Harper's hand tightened around the phone. Declan spoke. "How do you know? Because I heard my father authorize the fuel truck." Wyatt immediately sent a message. Declan asked, "Why are you telling us?" Camille gave a bitter laugh. "Because my father decided I was an acceptable casualty if I remained loyal to you." Harper heard a door open on Camille's side of the call. Camille lowered her voice. "I have to go," Camille. Harper said. "Yes, get out." Another pause. "I am trying." The line ended. Declan looked at Wyatt. "Stop the convoy." The vehicles pulled beneath an overpass. Rain hammered the roof. Declan stepped out before the vehicle fully stopped. Harper followed. He turned sharply. "Stay inside. You agreed. This is different. It became different 30 seconds after you agreed." Wyatt moved between them with a tablet showing the airfield plan. "There are 3 fuel trucks on site. 2 belong to us. The third arrived before dawn under a maintenance contract." Declan looked at the map. "Where is it beside the west hangar? The plane inside." Declan pointed toward a second building. "Move the plane to the east runway. Search the truck. No radios near the fuel line." Wyatt relayed the commands. Harper watched the map. "What about Evan?" "The ambulance is still moving," Wyatt said. 12 minutes out." Declan looked toward the road. "We continue." They returned to the convoy. The remaining drive passed in tense silence. Fields replaced buildings. The sky widened into pale gray. The private airfield appeared beyond a line of trees surrounded by chain fencing and low industrial structures. Armed guards opened the gate. The convoy entered. Declan stepped from the vehicle and immediately began issuing orders. "Search every building. No one leaves. Move the aircraft." Harper climbed out beside him. The air smelled like rain jet fuel and wet grass. A white medical transport appeared at the far gate. Her heart lurched. Evan. The ambulance crossed the tarmac beneath armed escort. Harper moved toward it. Declan caught her wrist. "Wait until they clear it." She looked at his hand. He released her. Security opened the rear doors. A medic stepped down. Then Evan appeared on a stretcher. His face was bruised. A bandage covered one side of his head. His left arm was secured against his chest. He looked smaller than Harper remembered, more human than anyone in Declan's world allowed themselves to appear. Harper crossed the tarmac. Evan. His eyes opened. For a moment he seemed unsure whether she was real. "Harper." She took his uninjured hand. "I am sorry." His fingers tightened weakly. "You should not be here. Neither should you." He tried to sit up and winced. "The men who took me knew about the ranch." Declan approached. Evan's body tensed. Harper remained between them. "What did you tell them?" Declan asked. Evan looked at him. "Nothing." Declan studied his injuries. "They believed you knew. I knew she wanted to run." Declan's face became colder. Evan continued. "I did not know where." A medic moved closer. "We need to get him inside." Declan nodded toward the hangar office. "Take him there." Harper walked beside the stretcher. Evan looked up at her. "Are you going with him for now?" "Because you love him." Harper glanced toward Declan. He stood on the tarmac, speaking with Wyatt, surrounded by men who would kill at his command. Yet he kept looking toward her as if every other threat in the world was easier to understand. Loving him and trusting him are not the same thing. Evan closed his eyes. "Do not let surviving become surrender." "I will not." They carried him into the office. Dr. Grant had arrived ahead of them and immediately began checking Harper. Her blood pressure was elevated, but June's heartbeat remained strong. "You need rest," Dr. Grant said. Harper looked through the window at armed men searching the hangars. "I hear that often." A sharp alarm sounded outside. Everyone turned. One of the fuel trucks erupted in flames. The blast shook the windows. Declan ran toward the hangar. Gunfire broke out near the west gate. Dr. Grant pulled Harper away from the glass. "Get down." Security rushed into the office. Nora appeared at the door. "Move them to the aircraft shelter." Harper stayed beside Evan's stretcher. "We are not leaving him. He comes with us." 2 guards lifted the stretcher. They moved through a rear corridor connecting the office to the east hangar. Smoke rolled across the tarmac. Men fired from behind service vehicles. A black sedan had crashed through the outer gate. Gideon stepped from behind it with a rifle. Harper recognized him from the surveillance photograph. He looked like Aaron Shaw around the eyes. Declan appeared near the hangar doors. Gideon raised his weapon. Declan fired first. The shot struck the vehicle beside Gideon, forcing him back. Nora pushed Harper into the hangar, behind the aircraft. The private plane had been moved inside. Its engines were silent. Fuel lines lay across the concrete floor. 2 attackers entered through a maintenance door. Nora fired. 1 man fell. The other disappeared behind a tool cabinet. A guard moved Evan's stretcher toward the rear exit. Harper crouched beside the plane. The attacker emerged. His weapon pointed toward Nora. Harper saw a red emergency flare gun mounted beside the aircraft stairs. She reached it before thinking. The metal felt heavy in her hand. The attacker turned. Harper fired. The flare struck a stack of oil-soaked cloth near his feet. Fire burst upward. The man recoiled and dropped his weapon. Nora shot him in the leg. He collapsed. Harper stood frozen with the empty flare gun in her hand. Declan entered the hangar. His eyes found her immediately. Then the fire. Then the wounded man. He crossed the distance in seconds. "Are you hurt?" "No." He checked her arms, her face, her stomach without touching until she nodded. "I am fine." Declan looked at the flare gun. "You fired that." He was going to shoot Nora. Something almost like pride moved through his expression, followed by fear. "You could have been hit." So could she. Nora looked away. Wyatt's voice sounded through Declan's radio. "Gideon is moving toward the runway." Declan turned. Harper caught his sleeve. "Do not disappear." He looked at her hand. "I will come back. That is not what I said." His eyes met hers. "I will tell you where I am going. I am going to the runway. Wyatt is with me. Nora stays with you." Harper released him. "Go." Declan and Wyatt ran into the rain. Harper moved to the hangar opening. Nora tried to pull her back. "I need to see. You need cover. I need to know." They stood behind a concrete support. On the runway, Gideon moved between 2 service vehicles. Declan approached from the opposite side with his weapon lowered. Wyatt circled wide. Gideon laughed. "You burned Chicago for a woman who hates you." Declan stopped several yards away. "She is allowed to hate me." Harper heard the words through the rain. Gideon raised his voice. "But she is not allowed to leave." Declan looked toward the hangar. Toward Harper. "She is allowed now." Gideon's smile disappeared. "You expect me to believe that I do not care what you believe. You destroyed your family for her. You came after my family." Gideon's face twisted. "You killed my brother. Aaron sold information that would have killed men who trusted me. He begged you. He made his choice. So did you." Gideon's hand moved toward his coat. Wyatt shouted. Declan fired. The gunshot echoed across the runway. Gideon staggered. A pistol fell from his hand. He sank to his knees, then collapsed against the wet pavement. Declan remained still for several seconds. There was no victory in his face, only completion. He lowered the weapon and walked back toward the hangar. Harper watched him approach through the rain. This was still the man from the warehouse. He had not become harmless. He never would. But when he reached her, he stopped several feet away and waited. He did not touch her. He did not tell her what to feel. "Gideon is dead," he said. "I saw. The airfield is secure for now." Yes, Evan was transferred to the plane with a medical team. Camille arrived 20 minutes later in a West family vehicle alone, except for a wounded driver. She stepped onto the tarmac with blood on her sleeve. Declan faced her. "Your father alive. Did he send Gideon?" "Yes." "What do you want?" Camille looked toward the plane. "A new name. Enough money to leave. And the promise that you do not kill him today." Declan's expression hardened. "He betrayed us. He is still my father." Harper stepped beside Declan. "Give her what she asked for." He looked at her. "This is not your decision. You said I would be told the truth and included in decisions affecting our safety. Camille saved us." Declan glanced toward the smoke rising beyond the gate. Then he looked at Camille. "You have a passport by sunset. Your father lives as long as he stays out of my path." Camille nodded. It was not forgiveness. In Declan's world, it was mercy. Before boarding, Declan handed Harper a thick envelope. She opened it. Inside were signed divorce papers. Her name appeared beside his on every page. Declan had already signed. Harper looked up. "What is this you wanted proof? Of what? That you have a choice." The wind moved across the runway. Harper touched the final signature. "If I file them," his face remained controlled, but pain entered his eyes. "I remain June's father. I protect her. I do not use her to keep you married to me. You would let me leave after Montana if that is what you choose." "And if I choose not to go now?" Declan looked toward the plane, then back at her. "I will place every resource I have between you and the people who remain. I will not lock you inside another room." Harper folded the papers and placed them inside her bag. She did not tear them. She did not hand them back. Then she extended her hand. Declan looked at it as though it were something more dangerous than a weapon. "This is not forgiveness," Harper said. "I know. This is not forever. I know. It is one flight." Declan placed his hand in hers. One flight. They boarded. Evan rested near the rear of the cabin under medical supervision. Camille sat alone beside a window, staring at the life she had abandoned. Wyatt and Nora remained near the cockpit. Harper took a seat on one side of the aisle. Declan chose the seat across from her. The distance was deliberate. The plane began moving. Outside, the airfield disappeared beneath rain and smoke. Chicago waited somewhere beyond the horizon, preparing to learn that Declan Kane had died in the destruction of his tower. Harper watched the runway pass beneath them. The plane lifted. Her stomach tightened as the ground fell away. Declan leaned forward. "Pain number." June moved beneath Harper's hand. Her expression changed. Declan noticed. "Is she kicking?" Harper looked at him. For a moment she considered keeping the movement for herself. Then she held out her hand. Declan crossed the aisle and knelt beside her seat. Harper guided his palm to the place beneath her ribs. June kicked once. Declan closed his eyes. The most feared man in Chicago looked defenseless. Harper watched his face. "You cannot protect her from everything, no. You cannot teach her that love means control." His eyes opened. "Then you will have to teach both of us differently." Harper did not answer. She looked out the window. Clouds covered the world below them, white and endless. Her divorce papers remained inside her bag. Her own phone rested in her pocket. The keys to a vehicle Declan did not control pressed against her palm. His hand stayed beneath hers over their daughter. Not holding, not forcing, waiting. The plane turned west toward Montana. Harper had not forgiven him. Declan had not become a good man. The danger inside him had not disappeared simply because he had opened one door. But the door was open, and Harper remained beside him because for this one flight she had chosen to stay.